Hey, I'm Duke on Twitch. If you want to support the channel and greensunzenith.com, you can find my Patreon, merch store, and singles store where you can buy singles through TCG Player or Card Hoarder in the video description. If you want to get in contact, you can also find all that info in the description below for things like donation deck lists or just wanting to reach out. Alright, let's get right into it. Hey team, welcome back to Duke on Twitch. Back today with not Bant Maverick. Let me quickly change that. We're back with Green White because I kind of just want to go back to the basics and see how Green White is faring. I've wanted to be playing a card like Spirit of the Labyrinth in Maverick for a little while, and I think the Green White is where it kind of fits. I also want to play around with Aven Mindcensor, which is a pretty pet card, one of my favorite cards coming from Modern into Legacy. And just, I think, really well positioned. Great against the Stoneforge decks, Elves, Doomsday. Definitely a few decks on the radar at the moment that we usually run into that I just want to have a little bit more for. So, gonna see how that goes. I also just really love the chance to play all 4 basics in 2 Forest and 2 Plains, so that's pretty cool. I was gonna go with a 3-2 split with Hierarch and Birds, but I opted for the 4 because Teferi is probably the biggest reason. It's nice to be able to go turn 1 Noble, turn 2 Threat, and then if they go turn 3 Teferi Bounce, Hierarch can at least attack for 1 into Teferi. And also being a deck that's just naturally playing 2 Jidays. I didn't fit a Stoneforge Mystic package in, but I think 2 Jiday by itself is fine. It's just kind of like another way to gain some amount of sort of virtual advantage and also deal with opposing creatures. It's nice to be able to attack with those, so that's kind of the reasoning there. I've cut down on Thalia for Spirit, and a big reason for this is I feel like a lot of decks aren't really running around where like turn 2 Thalia is that relevant. She's still a disruptive piece, but not as big as she used to be, and I think in many cases Spirit is more disruptive than Thalia, so just going to try out that. Council's Judgment, just like a really good all-star kind of removal spell. Obviously great against 8 cast with the big Blastoise effect. And usually Force of Vigor can kind of clear up the rest of it. So pretty happy to see how that goes. But yeah, nothing too out there with this list. I really wanted to go with the 5 or 6 mana dorks, if you include Dryad Arbor, because of all the 3 drops in the deck. And just make sure that our mana is solid. I guess the other kind of inclusion here is Ghost Quarter. Ghost Quarter is here for some of the decks that play Pithing Needle, naming Wasteland, like Post or some Depths decks. We've been running to a little bit of an Enchantress versions of recently that are playing Abundant Growth and things like that. So Quarter is always just nice to have. Even with Ramanap against some of the blue-white X-control decks, it's nice to be able to try to hit their mana a little bit. And yeah, I think Quarter should be pretty interesting. So pretty cool. Hey Harvey, hey Elo. Welcome and thank you very much. But yeah, I think just one last thing is like Deafening Silence I really like in this list. Endurance, Surgical, and Force of Vigor as just kind of turn 1/turn 0 effects that allow us to stay in the game long enough to then apply more pressure or disruption. I've been trying to move away from Deafening Silence, but it's really hard to not have some sort of meaningful interaction against combo decks on turn 1, especially post board. So, and then lastly, Knight number 4 is missing just because of the amount of 3 drops in the deck. I do want the 2nd Endurance and the number 1 Tireless Tracker as just another way to provide card advantage over 2nd Library. It's really nice because you can draw the cards in your opponent's turn, which plays around Spirit of Labyrinth if you, for some reason, or get to a stage where they're both in play. So that's kind of the reasoning over Knight number 4. I feel like where Knight is really good, the first one just takes over the game. You don't need the 2nd and 3rd, and you're still going to see the 3 quite often, especially with Green Sun. So I feel like although you drop percentage points against some of the decks where Knight is relevant, I think adding those percentage points against the more grindy decks with things like Tracker is pretty crucial. And also Endurance with Reach against Delver is pretty huge. We aren't running like Prismatic Ending in this list, or I was looking at Much for a little bit, but I didn't get there. So we'll see how that goes. Outland Liberator was definitely in the sideboard for a bit, but we'll hopefully Yeah, hopefully be okay against 8-cast. 8-cast is always an interesting one. Yeah, I definitely like the split of like having 2 ways to gain some sort of card advantage, either 2 libraries or a tracker in a library, or you know, you do have Ramanap and Horizon Canopy, which is kind of cool. Jide in a way deals or gives you some sort of like virtual card advantage, which is nice. And by that I mean is you can deal with the actual creatures and cards with counters instead of actually trading sort of card for card. But yeah, the nice thing about the 4 basics as well is that it plays around back to basics really nicely, and it also plays really well against some of the wasteland decks that are trying to wasteland you out early on. All right, we are gameplay. There we go. And this hand is a pretty great hand. Turn 1 Mum into turn 1 Thalia, we have removal, we have disruption and ghost quarter, we have some card draw if we could just keep drawing land, so pretty happy to keep this. Opponent last seen on interesting green-white depths, but this could be a multitude of tribal decks. I'm going to go ahead and say it's Death and Taxes, but turn 1 Mum here is just going to be really nice. And also the ability to get a basic here to play around this wasteland is also quite key. Especially if it is D&T. If they have like a turn 2 Stoneforge, it's great because it's not answering the Mum, and we also have swords. Ah, it's gonna be humans. Okay, very cool. That's not cool. That's gonna take our Thalia, our Sword Splashes here, but. Black-white humans typically playing around with Orzhov Pontiff in the main deck, which is pretty tough. The deck, thankfully, doesn't play the Recruiter package. So they don't have a way to naturally... They have to naturally find it, which is pretty good for us. Reapel Cheap's been kind of mastering the deck at the moment, especially the white-black version. I know Eddie's been putting up some results as well, which is cool. And this is kind of the scary part when where they can kind of just go wide. They have 1 card left. I'm pretty happy just to put Mum in front and give pro white. A land, not really what I want to see here. I think I'm just going to draw with Canopy, just in case the draw is a 1-drop. But the small disadvantage of going for basics here is that I don't have a Savannah, so I can't... I'm in a situation where if I use the plains to draw and draw another Mother of Runes, I can't cast it. If I use the plains to draw, or use the forest to draw and draw like a Noble Hierarch, I can't cast it. But like having 3 mana is pretty nice anyway, so even if we draw into like another Reliquary, we can still cast it next turn. Hey Peanuts, thanks for the sub, a huge thank you. Let me know where you're from. If you play Legacy, what do you play in Legacy? I think I'd rather try to draw into like a Hierarch, so see how that goes. Script's pretty cool. That does give us access to another Mum activation. I might also be able to bait out a Wasteland. What I don't want to see is Thalia's Lieutenant. Okay. That Thalia isn't too bad. We do have Caracas for it, which is kind of nice. Unfortunately, I'm kind of wanting to play the Savannah next turn to get this Wasteland off the field. Interesting attack. I don't mind seeing if I can get rid of this champion. They have one card left, and if it's a 3-drop, it's a 3-drop, but I feel like right now we have a chance to trade this Thalia for the champion, which is pretty interesting. Taking 6. You play Depths? Very cool. From the States? Nice. This is actually a pretty tough one because they had the Thalia, which they hardcast. Maybe they drew that for turn after putting the Vial to 3 and then just have another card in hand. Maybe another Thalia? I don't mind, like, making them have a 3-drop. If it's a Kudrow, it's pretty bad, but if it's a Kudrow, there's not too much we could do. Brutal Cathar. Yeah, I'm gonna say that's game. Like, even just drawing one card is not gonna really do anything against this go wide. Tough. Humans. I like the parts. I like the judgments. Thalias and spirits. Avens are interesting. They don't typically play any search anymore. I could see like Endurance just being a 3/4 body with reach. That's pretty nice. Or even a Force. Everything else is pretty solid. The Kite Sail, which isn't typically too good against Maverick, was quite good there, taking our swords. It's kind of our way to control their ability to go too wide in the early game. Force is just nice because if I can enter an early Vial, usually their mana's a little bit tight, so that's where Wasteland can really have an effect on either what they can cast or how many creatures they can cast in a turn. But tough. Green-white Depths? Nice. What's your local, like, Peanuts? Do you have a local Legacy scene? And if so, do you get, like, weekly or monthly tournaments? This is a pretty nice hand, I think. Like, having a turn 1 Mum into Noble is sweet off basics as well. I guess we don't really have to go off basics. Can try to, like, bait out an early Wasteland. I think getting Mum online is better than Noble. But let's have a quick look. I'm going to assume it's very close to Reaples, if not Reaples. So we have Swords to Plowshares in the sideboard, which is a good reason to not give them the extra draw to try to find it. So I think it will just be Windswept into Savannah, into Mum. That also allows us next turn to do Wasteland and Noble Hierarch. If we go for Plains here, it means we untap and can't really double spell by Wastelanding and Hierarching. That's fair. Not really the draw I want, but... this is game 2. Went down game 1 to just kind of go wide. Wow. Rough. path's pretty nice. I think here we just wasteland our opponent and then hold up path on the kite sail. I could have gotten Dried Arbor last turn and attacked for 2 with Exalted, which I think is just correct. It's also just a terrible draw, so I'd love to get it out of the deck. Hey, Vegeta, too kind. I will take the 1. I guess there's no real reason. It's not like they can cast another freebooter here. That's pretty nice. Just gonna hold up 2 creatures here. Quickly see how Reaper usually deals with artifacts on the field. It's really just Brutal Cathar as a way to get rid of the creature, which is nice for us. You get monthly tournaments? Nice. You get people coming over just to jam some Legacy. Yeah, it's probably the best part of the... Yikes. The plowshares into into Kite Sail into Pontiff's been pretty strong. I think I will just jam with Dried Arbor here. Huh. I still think it's worth it. A little bit awkward because I don't think there was a world where I could cast the Jide and then also have open Swords end step or Dried Arbor end step in their turn. Okay. Three cards left for them. I actually think we're in a pretty nice position. These vials are going to get pretty tricky, but thankfully, without recruiters, there's no like real big value lines. We'll probably just see a draw here from the silent clearing. No. Interesting. A land here would be pretty nice, but... Oh, Ramanak's actually pretty cool. I think making a land drop here is just pretty crucial. It's going to be Windswept Heath, because it can't be Wastelanded, which is nice. I also have the second basic to go and get with Swords. I feel like the GW is doing a bit of work here, just keeping things off the field. That's gonna be fine. This is fine as well. I could try to like GW in response, but then if they put in like 2 creatures or 1 creature, then I have to GW again. I think it's going to be a case of using Exalted and the GW itself to get a lot of damage through without having to worry about their creatures being too big. I think I'm just going to get in first. I might as well play the Windswept Heath. That allows us to get all our basics. I don't have to use the GW yet until my end step, which is kind of nice. Brutal Cathar. Okay. I'm just going to hold up the endurance here. If they have a lord, they have no lord, okay. So if I block with Endurance and they have a creature, this becomes a 4/4, but we can make it a 3/3 again with GW. If they have a Lord, they didn't last turn. So if they drew a Lord for turn, then it does work, but I think I'm happy just to go and try to get this Endurance in. The sword is just so good that I want to keep the sword for as long as possible. I'm also not going to target anyone. I don't want them to get the sword back. And at least if they play a Lord here, then we do like just have kind of instant speed. Huh. Well, that's their last card. Okay. Well, now we get to do a few things. I can swords this now, get back to Ramanap, play a land, and then also play the knight. It means we can also attack. I could also just attack with the noble, and then give this -1/-1. I might try that first, because I don't really mind if I lose the Hierarch. And thankfully First Strike doesn't really work here. They're going to allow it. Interesting. I think Big Knight here is fine. Yeah, pretty tough spot for them. But to be fair, like, not many resources for us to work off. Like, the GW just really showed how powerful it was there. There wasn't too much else going on other than, like, having a few little ways of getting some advantage. We did see there as well how good Vial was. However, they did also hit their land drops at the same time, so I don't think that makes me want to like bring in an extra force. I'm pretty happy just to send this back. Yeah. Yeah. Wasn't allowing it just right for them there. Yeah, it probably was, because then we would use one to pump and then have two left over and then use one more to kill it. But yeah, thankfully in a position where I think this hand is okay, especially having access to early basics. Okay. That's pretty nice. Verdant for basic. Forest. What matchups Aven's good against? Stoneforge Mystic decks, Green Sun decks, like Elves or Cloudpost. Crop rotation decks, like Green White Depths, it's pretty fantastic against, like Reclaimer, Knight, Crop, Green Suns. Doomsday, if you're lucky enough to get it down before Doomsday, as Doomsday does search. Elves is probably the big one, and like other Stoneblade decks. Yeah, I definitely wouldn't kill it with the Jide. Because I guess like one gain 2 life with the Jide is pretty much just neg 2 in a way on the 3 damage coming through. I think it's just going to be Windswept Heath Pass here. Try to make them use the Mum by blocking with Endurance, and then untap and attack with Endurance on Jide. I think is a pretty good line. The other line is play Jide and also Green Suns out a creature, a Dried Arbor, but I don't want to put myself in too much hurt if they also Pontiff. And there it is. So if we go Savannah into Green Suns for Dried Arbor, play Jite out. Next turn, if we draw a land, we have 2 mana for Jide, equip, and then 3 mana for Judgment, get rid of the Mum. But I assume in response to the Mum, they give Pro, where we could just then, like, Judgment away the Pro creature, get in with Jide, and then kill the Mum that way. But it is a 2/2. So if they have, like, another Lieutenants... There's also a world where I just want to go for Council's Judgment this turn, to make sure they don't have like Kite Sail take Judgment and then Mum just takes over the game. I think I might start with just Judgment, just to play it a little bit safe. It didn't give Pro, which is interesting. There's a Mozzie. Gone for now. Ah, of course. For some reason I was not even thinking about the yeah, the 1 damage it gets itself. They tap the Wasteland, which is interesting. This is okay. Come on, land. Oof. Knight's pretty interesting here. I don't mind Knight as it also turns on Caracas. It also gives me 4 mana next turn with 2 basics and Cradle. Swords here isn't too bad, because it is just it's not like, you know, ambushing us when we're attacking with the Jedi or something. But yeah, now things are getting out of hand because they can just attack with everything. They could attack with the Pontiff as well and Haunt and give neg 1/1. Guess we take 10. I think making it a 4/3 is better than gaining life. But there's a world where it's just not enough. They do have 0 cards, so it's a small gain. But maybe we just left the Jedi for too long. There we go. Apologies. Yeah, pretty aggressive on my wastelands, but I typically don't mind it against Delver. Okay. They... That makes me think that they have a Murktide in hand, which is why they're fetching now, which really makes me want to Endurance here, just getting rid of the tracker, and try to take over this game with Jude, but seeing that the Arbor is going to be answered by the Wasteland, that's pretty tough. It would be a 5/5 Murktide. It's always a tough call to try to like pre-hit Murktide, but our opponent could just force the Endurance here. You're going to allow it. This Jide also turns really any threat we draw into a real threat, which is nice. I guess Iteration's also a pretty good card to draw into. Yeah. Okay. I still know they have a force. One sec. Got him. Forest. Days. Hey, Ark, welcome. Not sure if I should be worried about the no flip or not. Hopefully it was just that polluted delta. Surely they fetch, yeah. And try to hit. Ozzy, Ozzy, Ozzy. Oi, oi, oi. No flip again is kind of nice. Oh, no attack either? Wow. I'm not going to play the land. I'd rather have this as like potentially my opponent thinking about endurance. I think if I did, but I did kill the Delver, so I don't think my opponent would think it's endurance, but just a nice to have. Yeah. Scrib Ranger would be pretty sweet here. My opponent has 5 cards in hand, so surely they have some sort of gas. Force that. Interesting. Rough. Oof. Tracker. Beast. Path. Path. Judgment. Judgment. Endurance. Endurance. Mindcensors are interesting, but things like End the Festivities are pretty tough. Library can definitely come out. I do like these. I do like these. It might just be like one Mindcensor. Ah, but we are playing 61, of course. Maybe the land is just okay. Yeah. Okay. I mean, and it's kind of just like a fold to end the festivities, but it's a pretty nice hand, especially with basics. Chose to not shuffle. Hey Joe, welcome. Hope you're well. The fetch is nice. Happy to play the Spirit around days and then probably play the Noble not around days. Okay. If they force Mum, they don't. Hey, Gobnik. Nice to catch you in the stream. And Catapult, welcome. Hope you guys are well. I don't think I want to expose the ooze just yet. Okay. So find a Delver. I was going to say, I wonder if they have Submerge for the Mum. And that's probably just going to be a card that I actually don't want. Just a little bit too slow. Yeah, but a land is definitely not what I want. Yikes. Like, the Force gets rid of a Murktide, but they already have the threats in play. Hey, Punishing, welcome. Hope you're well. Loving your content recently. There's probably a world where I should have played Dryad there. I guess it's a little while off to be able to draw into anything good. Yeah, Delver's just got a really good engine these days. It's just really hard to break it up. I think we've got the tools to beat it, but it's just a case of being a deck that can't really find or dig for the cards. Yeah. Yikes. Tough. But yeah, 8 Mulch seems cool. 8 Mulch seems like a lot of fun, which is awesome. Alright. Yeah, okay. Turn 1 Dryad, turn 2 Knight. I can even fetch to try to make the Knight a 4/4 turn 2. Getting the Savannah here also means we can turn 2 Spirit and Wasteland if needed. Been playing Reckoner Bankbuster in Yorion Control. I don't know what Reckoner Bankbuster is. Oh, Ancient Tomb. That probably means this Wasteland and Oof is going to be pretty strong next turn. Oh my gosh. Yes. Nice. Yeah, I think it's just a case of like maybe not keeping a hand that doesn't have like a Source Plowshares or Path to Exile in the opener. Just tough trying to like also mulliganing in Delver because you kind of get stuck that way. It's going to be... okay. Cloud Post with Ancient Tomb, which I assume is a different type of variant. Maybe like a Mystic Forge style deck. Definitely interesting. Urborg. Okay. Oof. Kind of dead with the Oof on board. Can go pretty wide here. I don't mind Wasteland because then next turn 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Getting pretty close to just having lethal. Yeah, I guess when I cast a Thalia, I thought I would cast a Spirit as well, but then I went away from getting Cradle to just getting that. I'm not sure what this deck is, but I assume Force of Vigor is good and Council's Judgment. Spirit probably dead. Oof seems fine. Endurance can most likely come out. Mum can most likely come out. There's a world where like a Endurance, potentially a Mum or two. Post Eldrazi? Yeah, it could be 12 post or Drazi Post. I'm not sure of the actual name. Tough. Yeah, it's interesting to see the Ancient Tomb and the Urborg, because they're typically two cards that aren't in mono green post. But hey, keen to see what they're on. This is probably okay, especially with the Knight of Autumn in hand. Yeah, maybe Thalia's worse than Spirit. Cloud Post. Pretty happy just to wasteland that here. Nice. Go and get a Savannah and Green Suns to get a Knight online next turn. Just don't con me. Ballista. Yikes. I don't really want to use the swords on the Ballista. I could play out the Mum and then see if they want to pump another mana into the Ballista to then just keep the Ballista around. Khan's pretty good. Having Force open here is pretty cool. Crypt is fine. They're going to trade the Ballista here. Ah, this is actually fine, because when they try to pump up the Ballista, we can just kill it with Force. Oh, they're also going to play out the Liquid Metal Coating first? Surely not. Ah, Contortion. Okay, yikes, I wasn't playing around that. Yeah, 2G because I'm not playing Stoneforge Mystic. And I do like the old list, used to just play 2G day. You don't often see them both, but can happen. Jeez. I do like parts. Mums can most likely just come out. I don't mind a Thalia. That's probably it. Actually, I kind of like Endurance as just a flash creature on turn 3. Yeah, pretty happy to keep this. Just the same as game 1 where we can turn 1 Green Suns for Dried Up, but turn 2 Oof and Wasteland. Can't wait to draw 2 Jide with Oof in play. Yeah, neither. Chalice is cool. Pretty happy just to try to get a Knight next turn with our Green Suns. Can even get Ramanap next turn as well, which is pretty sweet. Chalice on the draw here just a little bit slow. What does Khan get here? Especially with Oof on the board. Does it get Bridge? They have 5 cards in hand. Alright. Yeah, I'm just thinking if I want to do anything first. I don't think so. Like, is there a way to do this? Like, is there a way to double Wasteland and also kill the Khan? That's my question. I don't think there is. Because to kill the Khan, I can either attack with both of these creatures, which leaves me with 3 mana and Night. But I want a Green Suns for Ramanap. So I could use 4 mana, Green Suns for Ramanap, play Wasteland from the bin, Wasteland. I could also just not care about the Khan for a turn. My only thought is like Ensnaring Bridge, but we have the Council's Judgment for that. So I think it might just be Ramanap double Wasteland. Especially with Collector Oof in play, like Tormod's Crypt just turned off, which is pretty nice. Yeah, my only thought was Khan for Bridge, but we already have that, so that's not too bad. I could have sacked lands a little bit better, so that I had double white next turn for Judgment on Spyglass, and then we could double Wasteland again. But yeah, pretty tough for them to come back from there, so. Nice. Tough. I kind of want to play around with like a Ponder effect in the deck. Just to have more oomph. It's sad that, is it Abundant Growth? No, Abundant Harvest doesn't find removal. Yeah, oh, land or non-land, okay. I guess I could find a creature, but it's... You run a lot of creatures in the deck, so it's pretty hard to find like a Swords or a Path off that. Once doesn't either. Oath of Nissa? I don't think Oath of Nissa does either. Creature, land, or Planeswalker, yeah. Alright, Momo. I don't mind this hand. Has a few things to go on. Yeah, Splinter's Fight. That's a great point. Mana Dorks are obviously a pretty bad late game effect, and with something like Abundant Harvest, it's pretty tough to hit them. Opponent has mulligan to 4 cards, so hopefully they're on Reanimator, and this Endurance can just spike game 1. Scalding Tarn, okay. Interesting. Even if I don't draw a... Yeah. I think here it's still just correct to play the Hierarch out. There's no world where I keep the Hierarch for the Endurance. Especially seeing Scalding Tarn. Mirror's Guile is interesting. It's just tough that it isn't, you can't replace it. At least Library you can like gain some card advantage off it, or at least replace it, but... I would assume all of the fetches in Reanimator are black fetches. So it might have actually just been a mulligan for my opponent that was pretty tough. Oof. Oh my gosh. Oh, that's not too bad. I think you just want to hold up the Mindcensor and the Endurance. I don't think I want to Ghost Quarter my opponent. I guess we can Ghost Quarter after we Aven. Ooh, get that value. Make it a strip mine. I'm also pretty keen to go after the Volk. Nice. No shove. It's going to try to get a knight here. Attack for 5. Does anyone know what this deck is? I'm not too sure what this deck is. Volk Trinisphere City. Ooh, punishing waterfalls with the hookup. Oh no. Oh no, it is going to be show and tell. Yuck. 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 Alright. Well, show and tell. At least the Force of Vigors are pretty good here. Like, Force and Deafening Silence are the definites. I don't mind the chokes. I also kind of like Path over Swords. Judgment's also interesting. It's just a nice out in case they like show and tell in something and then need a turn to actually go off. The Jidays can come out. The Ooze can most likely come out. Seething Song. Okay, so it's kind of like a mono red sneak, but Fiery Confluence. Yuck, yuck. Okay. So really just want to be taxing because there's still like I assume like a Brainstorm. Wow, no Brainstorms? Nope, no, okay. It's just all in on Sneak. And Blood Moon. Okay. Yeah, this is really interesting. It's pretty much mono red. Yeah, okay. Surgical's interesting, like Surgical on Sneak. Like that's just where I kind of have to be. I don't think Aven's great. Ramanap's fine. Endurance can most likely come out. Mums I don't mind. Spirits are out. Actually, Spirits hitting Grizzle is something to think about. Beast can come out. Oof is still Vine with, I believe, Lotus Petals. Yeah, maybe Surgical's just not where I want to be. That's fair. Choke as well. Like we saw that, yeah. Yeah, Surgical does seem pretty awful. Mums are fine. Swords I could potentially cut down on, like 2-part 2 sword. I do like the Manadorks and Acceleration. Ooze can come out. That's it. That's actually it. I don't mind that. I don't mind having like the 2 Council's Judgment and 2 parts over the 2 swords. I don't think so. I don't think so. I think I'd rather have like a deafening silence or even a Thalia. Not even something great to put in off the off a show and tell. Well, if I'm not keeping the first hand, I'm definitely not keeping this. It would be bottom Dried Arbor. They mulligan to 5 as well. Well, I'm not going to go down further. Double Wasteland could just get there. They've mulliganed to 4 cards. 2 cards on the bottom. Please don't turn 1 Blood Moon me. Okay. That's actually a really nice draw. I am going to go for a basic here into Dried Arbor. I don't think I want to draw just yet because it takes me off my white source. And there's not much I could draw into it to actually cast without a white source that's meaningful. This is a yikes. Blood Moon. I think in that case I'm happy to draw a card here. Okay. Well, I guess I just want to force that and then wasteland them. That's probably the play. Is it? I could also see what I draw and then upkeep, force it to try to keep the knight. I guess it's pretty much similar. Like if I force here, I get to untap and wasteland in my main phase. If I don't, I just untap, draw a card, play the wasteland for my main phase, go to their upkeep, and then just do the same thing, force the moon, and then wasteland their land. I only get hit by, like, if they're 3 cards in hand, a Seething Song, Through the Breach, and Hull Breacher, and like a creature. So I think I'd rather untap and hopefully draw into like a Noble Hierarch. A land won't do it. Yeah, I wonder what those 3 cards are. Yeah, they were stuck on 1 land for a little while. I think I'm happy to take them off the Volk this turn, just keep them off like another Blood Moon or like a Show and Tell. Don't you do it. Don't you do it. Okay. Nice. Now we're getting somewhere. Do I want to use the Green Suns now? Or just, I think I just want to wait. Potentially use it for a Knight of the Reliquary, which can find me Caracas, which is pretty strong. I will fetch here for a basic. I don't really want to draw it. I could also go for Collector Oof. But I think Green Suns for Night is just a little bit better. It's also a 2-tone clock. Happy to attack with both. Nice. All right. 2 and 2. Interesting game so far. I think the first 2 games against humans and Blue-Red Delver have definitely shown one of the main issues with Maverick is that it's obviously quite dead to go-wide strategies. At least Green-White does have a tough time. It has a tough time finding removal if you don't have it in your opening hand or some sort of card advantage in play. And can just lose games where you shouldn't really lose games. But you play with the hand you're dealt. And that's why I love the deck. That's why I would never change anything. Hey, True Hero. A huge thank you for the raid. Hope you're doing well. How did you go on your stream? And welcome all those from True Hero's stream. I'm Dukes on Twitch. I stream Legacy, FedEx, typically Maverick or Green-White Depths, sometimes D&T. Usually stream twice a week, but you can also find me on YouTube or on the Green Sun Zenith. All right, let's finish on a high. Up against Peach with a pretty easy mulligan. I don't mind this. The question is what I want to put back, the 3rd land or the Oof. Kind of have 2 bears here that could be very feast or famine. I do like keeping 3 lands. I think it's the Oof. Yeah. Pretty happy just to Green Sun straight away for Dried Arbor. Turns on 3 drops, turns on like Ooze next turn with mana open, which is cool. Opponent kept 7. Verdant. Hey Jax, welcome. That's pretty interesting. I'm gonna go ahead with Thalia first. Playing around Days and get this like a bug deck. Taiga. Okay, potentially lands. Crop. Caracas? Tab? Caracas. Okay. What if that means like end step Caracas, untap Loam? Hey, Mining Man, welcome. Hope you're well. If this ooze could hit a Loam, I'd be pretty happy. Yeah, Scoo's looking not too bad. Port is fine. What do they go after? Dryad. Yeah, that makes sense. Endurance. Endurance also pretty sweet. I could see just passing with Endurance open. Means we can like Endurance in response to a Loam. And then untap and ooze the Loam. Yeah, it would be nice to get in a position where we don't lose the ooze to something like a Punishing Fire. Which, if this Dryad Arbor leaves the field, is pretty good. Like, if the Dryad Arbor leaves... If it's like land Mox Diamond... yeah, I guess it could be with Grove, potentially. Valakut Exploration. Okay. We'll just get a Forest. Cast Endurance. And then I think I might actually just go for Ramanap next turn, get a land back and play Thalia. Because they can get basic planes. And that at least ties up the Caracas if they do want to use it that way. I also want that Thalia to hopefully get hit by a Punishing Fire. Just want to try to grow that ooze. But this looks to be just like a classic green-red version of Depths. Return Thalia. Nice. There we go. That's exactly what I want to see, because now we get to do some pretty cool things. Yeah, play this for turn. Cast Goose. Eat the Dryad Arbor. This becomes a 3/3. And now we can also eat this with the trigger on the stack. They can't return it anyway. I will fetch now as well and just eat... there's no real reason to eat the Windswept Heath just yet. I might as well try to get 2 damage in here. Yeah, definitely rewarded there for patience on the ooze, which is really nice. Because a 3/3 ooze is just so different to a 2/2 ooze. And although our opponent has the exploration out, they really need the other piece of the engine being exploration. Well, now we don't. But yeah, crop into DD would be pretty good. happy to play this. If they have crop, they have crop, but I can't really play scared. I guess I could have played Thalia first, because then the additional one would mean they couldn't cast it. Okay. I will play this. They're gonna crop now. Sure. Three, 2, 5. I think I can just swords my own creature here and then swing back for lethal. But it's close. I don't think I need to swords the Dark Depths. Because I'm not sure I'm winning this game if I'm giving them extra 20 life. I'm just thinking if I need to cast a second Thalia to put another creature into the bin, or to see if they Caracas in response. This is fine. Yeah, they go straight to combat. So if I swords here, they go to 25. If I swords my endurance, we go up to 22, which doesn't play around like a punishing fire. We go down to 2. We then untap, and then best case is we get through 5 damage through Ramanap and Scavenging Ooze, because the Endurance gets hit by Mazavith, the Thalia gets hit by Caracas. I kind of also get a turn-ish by blocking with the Endurance anyway. No, I don't, because I have to swords the Endurance. We're definitely fetching, because we're definitely casting the swords. Which puts us down to 18, which means I do have to hit the Endurance or the Ooze, and I think the Ooze is just the better creature. Yeah, I think it is just Swords Depths, but... I mean, like, the lethal is there in Skoos and Ramanap. We will have... no, yeah, because Maze actually takes out one of these two. Yeah, that's very correct. Yeah, it has to be Swords the Mage. Tough. Yeah, I didn't take into consideration that we still wouldn't have the Endurance. That's very true, yeah. At least they're down a resource and we still have Ooze, which is quite good. If they don't have Loam this turn as well. Oh, they hit a Saga. Blast Zone? Okay. That's a little bit of an issue. Nice. Okay. I will play the Windswept Heath. I will play out the knight. I'll attack with everything. We have Dried Arbor. I think Dried Arbor is probably the last. No, we don't. Yeah, so this is actually not worth anything. But there is a world where it at least makes the knight unpunishing fireable, which is cool. That's probably just its only thing. But yeah, really good pickup. Chat's on it. Chat's on it tonight. Zone to 2 here, which does kind of take their full turn, which is kind of nice. If they play P5 before Bog, yeah, that's very true. They can get the knight because it'll have 2 damage on it, so it'll die to state-based actions. They hit a crop. I mean, next time we get to double Wasteland, which is quite cool. Get one off Knight, and then Ramanap it back. I can eat Thalia, but I think the Blast Zone here is going to take out the Thalia and the Skoos. So I don't mind eating probably the Saga, the Dark Depths, and the Maze, and allow the stages to be there. They're going to crop first. Probably Saga, I could see. It might actually be Wasteland now that I hit. They get another Maze, okay. Oh, so they're not keeping the Blast Zone up? Because currently they can only 1, 2, 3 mana? Or 2 mana? Interesting. Saga for sure. Dark Depths for sure. And then Wasteland. Ghost Quarter. Pretty strong. I think Wasteland's just better though. I will eat this. There's no Yavin play. Nice. Get this back. Hit a Maze. Eat the Blast. That card's really powerful. Yeah, a tough spot for them. The Ooze really took over the game, and which is quite nice because I think Ooze is the card that's kind of like oozing out of Maverick as players just move towards Endurance, but having a 2 mana bear that is also like a Tarmogoyf-ish effect of just like a threat that can grow is quite nice. And there it really showed its impact. I like the Forces. I like the Surgical. I don't mind Council's Judgment as just another way to interact with their enchantments. Spirit out, Thalia out. I'm not a big fan of Collector Oof. Jide is not too bad, but I could see just like 1 in the deck. Everything else is pretty on point. Mum doesn't have the greatest impact, but there's a world where actually like Path over Swords as well. I think we just have so many good ways to answer Merit Lays that I don't need all... I can just rely on the 4 instant speed effects. Endurance is also quite strong as well. Beast is really nice against Mazavith because Mazavith prevents damage, but of course Beast gets through. So I could see Mum just coming down to two copies. I think that's pretty strong. Jitter just nice as well, either getting above 21 or keeping creatures with the Jitter on it above punishing fire range. A little bit awkward with Maze, but not too bad. But the 3 Force of Vigors are huge here, especially for an early exploration or like exploration Mox Diamond. I think this hand is a little bit awkward, but it's kind of just too good not to keep. Especially if they have an awkward start. Hey Spankstar, thanks for the follow. Hope you're well. Let me know where you're from. If you play Legacy, what do you play in Legacy? Take a pass. I'm pretty happy just to go fetch land pass. Yeah, Force of Vigor is probably... This is probably the matchup where it's best. 8 cast usually gets some sort of value before you can cast the Force. I guess in a way, like, they do as well, but... Another fetch land here would be perfect. Surgical. Huh. I think it's just going to be Wasteland here. Currently sick from Italy. Hey, I hope you feel better soon. Usually play Tess and or Doomsday. Hey, no hate here. I have Ant and Paper, which is cool. I actually played it in my local the other day. Big fan. I wonder if they kept a Valakut Exploration hand. Okay. I don't think it's worth forcing here. See, there's a world where I want to go force on the Valakut here. And then double wasteland them off green sources. But I think I'd rather just see if we can untap and... Yeah. Maybe even draw a green card that I'd rather. Like a Dryad Arbor. Another Misty's kind of nice. But I don't mind resetting with double wasteland here. A little bit awkward, but like if I want to incentivize them to play another like exploration or another Valakut exploration, then I want to keep them with their lands. Hold up endurance is quite good. Yeah, it might just be a case of like holding up for one more turn and then just hard cast the Force if I really need to. Next turn with 4 mana. I can also just get double basic, which is kind of cool. And the exploration by itself isn't too bad. It's when it's paired that it really stings. And there's the exploration, so... Okay. Mum. I'm just going to go with Wasteland and then see what they do with this fetch land. Yeah, I think I'm going to respond to the fetch land here. Yeah. I'm pretty happy just to get 2 basic forests as well. I don't think it's worth surgicaling Valakut Exploration here. But it's definitely tempting. It's a really good engine for them. But I think I'd rather keep this surgical for loam, because I think the kind of role of endurance here is to endurance away the lands in graveyard in response to loam, and then use surgical to take out the loam. And I think if they wasteland a wasteland here, then they probably have loam. Which is pretty tough as well, because I don't want to lose the tracker. Hey Steph, thanks for the follow, hope you're well. So this is an interesting point. I could also surgical the wastelands. And then next turn, just endurance away the loam. I don't mind that. It's kind of nice not to worry about wasteland. They do get the wooded foothills back, but I think that's okay. I just don't want to lose the tracker. Tabernacle, Punishing Fire, Taiga, Maze. Alright, I'm also going to see how they sideboarded. Probably little things, like I wonder if they... Okay, so they brought in their own surgicals, which is pretty interesting. Glacial Field, 2 Reclaimers, 3 Depths. All 4 Endurance, which is pretty cool. Alright. I don't believe when we surgical, this actually sticks around, so I should actually snip it. We've taken the one from the graveyard, we've taken these. I should probably just get like a full... Let's be honest. There we go. Alright. Loam resolves. They play the Taiga, they pass. Green Suns. Wasteland is gone, and they don't play Ghost Quarter, so I can just play out the Caracas. I can just endurance them now. And then it's a little bit awkward with the Tabernacle in hand, because if I play the Mum, then they're incentivized just to play the Tabernacle out. Holding up Wasteland is probably better as well. My thought for holding up Caracas was to play the Mum, but that might actually be okay. They might even just try to Punishing Fire this. Which I'd rather lose the Punishing Fire, lose the Mum to Punishing Fire than the Tracker. Blast Zone. That's okay. Huh. They're going to go after the Endurance because they believe they have the Blast Zone covering the Mum. That's really interesting. We do play Excavator, which is pretty cool. Alright. Punishing Fire. So 3 cards left. One is Maze, one is Tabernacle, one is Unknown. Plains. Excavator, Waste Grove. Excavator, Waste Grove is pretty good. I don't mind get Tracker into play. Wasteland, Grove. I could also go for Scavenging Ooze. It's pretty strong. A lot of good plays, which is nice. I don't mind ooze. There's currently a creature in the bin as well. I think I want to take out the blast zone. That's a big one. A lot of options here. A lot of things to think about, because the blast zone is just a clean answer for the mum, but it is a bit of a mana take. I don't mind Green Suns for Ramanap. Skoos is nice, because Skoos would also answer like a opposing, if they draw like a loam and put it into the bin. I think that's the reasoning for going. Land, Green Suns for ooze, eat P-Fire, and then probably just hit the blast zone. As good as Tracker is, the only thing awkward about Tabernacle is that my opponent is that we play the land first. Oh, they play Maze. Okay, that's great for us. All right, so they have Tabernacle and one unknown. I'm pretty happy to go for Tracker here. As good as Knight is. There's a world where Knight is just better, let's be honest. I think it is just better. Especially because you can get things like Cradle. It's nice to have options. I will say that. I think access to Wasteland is just really powerful. And I will still play the Canopy. And we do get an attack here. I guess not because of the Maze. It's pretty nice to have the Cradle as well when we don't have to worry about Wasteland, seeing that it's been surgicaled. Just have a really easy way to pay for our creatures. Okay. Wonder if they're holding up Bajuka Bog. They probably are. So there's a world where I actually don't want to use the mana here to draw. I'd rather just untap. I guess I can eat the Blast Zone. Force. Not too relevant here, but Track is going to be solid. Surgical and Wasteland. Interesting. I guess I could draw a card here and try to draw into Endurance to Endurance myself. I'm probably going to draw a card anyway. The only reason to keep the Canopy around is if they bog first, we can then start putting cards in the bin, but I think that's okay. Ah, there we go, Wiz. We eat the Wasteland. Of course. Very nice play. Chat, That's what I'm going to call chat lethal. Nice. Nice. And now, of course, the surgical has no targets, so it fizzles, and they don't get to search our library for anything, which is pretty sweet. Should have definitely thought about that straight away, but I didn't, so a big thank you, Wiz. Too kind. Too kind. I don't have a great attack here, actually, so I should have just held the Wasteland, because I can sack the Wooded Foothills and then another land to make the Reclaimer a 3/4. So I should have actually kept the Wasteland just to draw with the clue. That just makes sense. It also allows me to kind of play around another Surgical by having a Wasteland in play. So yeah, just a pretty loose use of Wasteland there. So I apologize for that. Apology accepted. Too kind, Spatula. But yeah, I mean, like, it is a little mistake, but those are mistakes that could really snowball into a loss. And this is like a typical match where, you know, 7 turns down the line, you could lose it and then go back to it and say, that was the play. Like that Wasteland that you just threw away was exactly what cost you the game. They didn't even use the Reclaimer, which is very interesting. All right, so here I'm pretty happy just to get Cradle and pay for all my creatures. And also eat the maze. I like attacking here just with the Tireless Tracker. I guess I can attack with the Ooze as well, because of the Canopy. Wasteland probably was the best draw. We haven't dealt damage yet, so I might as well use this 2 mana for cracking a clue. I mean, like, Endurance would be just insane here, because then it's like 2 cards that I can use straight away. I could see them getting rid of the Tabernacle here, just because we have the Cradle and they don't have access to Wasteland, but... Oh, Field. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. Here, I'm pretty happy just to... Do I even care about the Elvish Reclaimer? I don't think I do. I'd rather keep up the Canopy in case they loan back the field. Like, taxing them as well is pretty huge here. I also still have the option of like End Step Wasteland or End Step Swords on Reclaimer. They're down to 1 card. I think I'd rather just eat the field here. Yeah. They can... Oh, they didn't use the Reclaimer there. Interesting. That was actually a really bad use of Ghost Quarter, but it just paid off. I feel like we just swords this now. Yeah, I should have definitely kept, because now they can gain 2 life. Okay, they're just going to let it slide. That should just be lethal. Yeah, some pretty loose uses of Swords to Plowshares there, but... Yeah. Tough one for the opponent. Well, pretty nice to come back from 0-2 to 3-2, which is always a bit of a treat. But yeah, green-white just in a interesting spot. I think there's a world where you could still play something like 2 main deck prismatic endings, because just dealing with 1 and 2 drops or even below is just so good. Like, there is a world where sometimes you do want that third color for most likely a Planeswalker or something like a main deck back to basics or Ensnaring Bridge. But I do like kind of the taxing effects of the white creatures here as a 2-2-2 split. Mindcensor we only saw a little bit, but it seemed pretty relevant, and even just a flash creature is quite nice. I think because we are just playing the 1 library and the 1 tireless tracker as kind of the card advantage engines, I do want to probably make use of... I think Prismatic is still better than March, but March is definitely an interesting card, because it doesn't actually take into consideration the colors you use to cast it. It's more about how much mana you put into it. But not being able to deal with a 1-drop on turn 1 is probably where I think it doesn't make the cut. Yeah, it does do some cool things, like you can instant speed deal with an Urza's Saga, but I think this deck with Wasteland and everything already deals with Saga pretty well, that I think that like Prismatic is just a little bit better. And like maybe there's a world where the Jidays just like they're nice, but they can be pretty awkward as well. Like at least with Stoneforge you have the creature there to then equip. I don't mind 61 either. Like these are just leagues. I think in a challenge I would probably try to make the cut, and it would probably be just the 2nd endurance going to the board. But I think in leagues with so much Delver around, I really like the 5 mana dorks and the 2 endurance. But it's probably either the noble or the endurance that I cut if I was going to cut a creature for a challenge. Also having the mind sensors, like the ability to have 6 ways to accelerate, or I guess 9 ways to accelerate on turn 1 is pretty great, to then have a turn 2 mind sensor open, especially on the play against Doomsday if they don't turn 1 ritual into Doomsday. So I could see something like this going ahead. I think Deafening Silence is great against a lot of the combo decks right now, even just to slow them down. It's tough as well because like Elves is always one of the decks. Elves and 8 cast, you have that like so you have like, here we go. A little bit of drawing. You have Canonist. You have Deaf Silence. They're the main 2. So Canonist does nothing against 8 cast. And Deafening Silence does nothing against Elves. Canonist being a creature isn't the worst. But yeah, it's tough. I swear there was another card that I was thinking of the other day. But it's just tough to try to find like a Deafening Silence effect that is just good against everything that isn't a 3-drop. Because I believe like Archon is also quite good, but it's a 3-drop, which is tough. Deaf Silence does nothing against Food Chain. There we go, Grid. Nice one. Damping Sphere. It could be Dampening Sphere, which is pretty sweet in the challenges because there's a little bit of like Cloud Post as well. But yeah, Dampening Sphere does help against a few decks, but being turn 1 interaction is just where Deafening Silence shines, and I think is like one of the best printings for white decks in like a long time, like nearly at like Thalia level. Like I think Thalia really changed how well creature-based decks could fight the Legacy format, and I think Deafening Silence is definitely up there. You have some pretty specific cards that have been good, like Palace Jailer in its prime or Recruiter of the Guard, but I think Deafening Silence was like really underrated when it was released of how much impact it's had on the format, or at least for decks, even like Death and Taxes, to have that turn 1 hate to then amplify your, to then get the time to then get to turn 2 and play like a Thalia or a Spirit in turn 3 and then move forward from there. But it's tough. It's tough. Ghost Quarter as well. I'm not sure if Ghost Quarter should just be Wasteland number 4 or if it's worth having it as an extra sort of slot. I do like 23 lands, so I think that if I didn't have this, I would probably just add another fetch land. But yeah, a little bit of room with this deck, which is cool. I would say if we're looking at like what are the flex slots, I think the Mindcensors are, the Spirits are, the Tracker. I do like at least one library in the deck, the 2 Prismatic Endings, the second Endurance, the Ghost Quarter. So there's probably around 9 flex spots in this deck. I really want the 4 Mums, especially against Delver. I think that 4 Mums is pretty fantastic. I do like at least 2 Thalia. There is a world where having 3 is optimal, but I didn't mind 2 tonight. Even against Delver, I kind of like seeing Spirit a little bit more than Thalia, even just as a clock as well. Actually, there is a world where like this. So there's really 10 flux. Tracker, Endurance, Ghost Quarter, Noble, Ending, Spirit, Aven. Which is kind of cool. I think that that's kind of the basis of Maverick, is that you can kind of make it your own. You can definitely play around with what you think your metagame is, especially in like a local scene. But yeah, I like right now, I love the 4 Mums. Obviously love the 4 Swords to Plowshares. I love the 4 Green Suns. I love the 4 Mana Dorks of some kind. I do like at least one library and at least 2 Thalias. I love Questing Beast. I love Ramanap. I love Endurance. I like Knight of Autumn in the main deck over Outland Liberator just because it has a little bit more play to it, and it is a 2-for-1 in most occasions. Knight, I do like at least 3. This version, of course, playing a few more 3-drops in like Tireless Tracker and Endurance number 2, so I am just playing 3. Ooze, I still think is a relevant graveyard hate piece. Collector Oof main deck just wins games. It's kind of like the new Gaddock Teeg. Scrib Ranger in this version with so many Mana Dorks and also 4 Mums I think is really good. And also just against Delver, it can be pretty tough to deal with if they've kind of used their bolts or you have a Mum in play. And then like the lands, I would say like the second planes isn't always necessary, but I'd say that the 4 basics is the big reason why I like playing green-white. Which is, pretty tough. Like right now, there's a big incentive to play red and Pyroblast, or black and Plague Engineer and Grist, or just having access to more colors for Prismatic Ending. But I think there is a world where green-white has its place in Legacy. Maybe not as the most competitive deck when it comes to like challenges and showcases and LCQs, but I think from a league perspective, like the ability just to run out your first 4 turns in basics is pretty huge. There's a lot of Wasteland running around, and even losing that extra land against Delver where they can start dazing you, it's pretty nice to have. So it's kind of my post match rumble, but I hope you all enjoyed this. A huge thank you to the new followers, to True Hero for coming in and rating the stream. A huge thank you. I'm going to be going after my 3rd try at a trophy with my $300 Bant Maverick challenge, thanks to the Maverick Joe, tomorrow night. So if you're around, definitely tune in. Yes, so this version isn't playing Stoneforge. I could find room for it, and I think I would probably look at cutting. the 2 Avens and the 2 Spirits potentially. Actually, it could be Tracker. It's tough. I think if I was going to play Stoneforge in this, I would probably like to have 3 Stoneforge and then 2 equipment, most likely Jide and Caldra. I think having 3 is fine with 4 mums in the deck to protect them. But it's always tough because by adding in the Stoneforge package, you're diluting usually either your removal or your Green Suns package. And like by every different creature you remove from the Green Suns package, you're making it less powerful, which is tough. But yeah, it is tough. Like, Caldra is great, but the deck doesn't really need that. Doesn't typically need that sort of aggression. Against a deck like Elves, like that's a pretty sweet play if they have something like a Wirewood in play, and you know that like a Jide line isn't great. But yeah, it's tough. Stoneforge is cool, and I do approve of it in some lists, but I do like that this list takes kind of the maximum amount of time and or maximum amount of space to put into the Green Suns package to make it as viable as possible, and then also has enough hate in Aven, Spirit, and Thalia to make sure you're winning those first sort of early turns against some of the combo and control decks to actually get time to land your threats and get a strategy that actually wins the game. So Stoneforge would be cool, but it's about finding space sometimes. A huge thank you. If you guys want to find me on YouTube, you can find me here. Of course, you can find me on Twitter as well. I'm going to send you guys over to... Wafo's playing some Modern, which is cool. Granham is actually playing some D&T, which is sweet. So I'm going to send you guys over there. I believe they are a pretty big fan of the stream, which is cool. But yeah, until then, enjoy your weeks, enjoy your nights, and yeah, hopefully see some of you tomorrow night for some Bant Maverick. Cheers.